So just a bit of a refresher on building a mesh network. So I've just used a simple cube for this. I'm going to use to replicate, duplicate and all that kind of stuff. You can use any shape you want. I had a little play around with the torus before. Looked like some crazy like Cheerio advert. All these like little donut things just flashing all over the place. Let's go with Mash. And we'll just bring up the Mash editor, so the distribute. Bring up the editor here. And then we can see our nodes and stuff. So we've got 10. Then we can just increase the distance to make them look like they're apart. So you can then choose how many you want. So I'm just going to go with about 9. And then within the distribution, we're going to choose the type. So at the minute it's linear, so it just goes straight line. Linear line or radial, which is the one I kind of showed you before the demo with. We can increase that as much as we want. Increase the radius. And this is all keyframeable as well. Just going to put lots of frames on there. You can like offset it and all that kind of stuff. I don't know why my undo just keeps turning off. If your undo ever turns off, you just need to go to the settings. And it's at the bottom here. Just turn it back on. Don't know why that happens. So yeah, so that's Z offset. Just other stuff to play around with. The angle is quite nice to keyframe because you can have it keyframe on coming on, I guess. So let's just add that in actually. So to keyframe in Mash, this goes for quite a few things within Maya. Often the temptation is just to press S and thinking that's going to keyframe it, which is obviously a little bit confusing because normally that's how you do it. But when it comes to an attribute, you need to be keyframing from the attribute editor. So attributes are anything that have these kind of numbers here. And it's keyframing an individual attribute as well. So let's keyframe the angle. So I'm going to have that set to 0 to start. And I'm going to set a key. So when you set a key, it goes red. Let's just say that's going to take not very many seconds to come on. It's 1 second. That was probably way too quick, wasn't it? I wonder if I was blocking the other day, so my keyframes might be set to stacked and clamped. That's probably what's happening there. Where are we going? Yeah, just as I thought. Let's change them to auto. It's the thing when you're doing all this stuff. So let's go back. You'll notice you can't see the keyframes in the timeline, which is a bit annoying. So I'm going to use the graph because then you can see them. You get the curves. So now if this is my distribute keyframe here, it's gonna on the angle. So say if I added some kind of radius one as well. I'd have 2. Set key. So now I've got one here, look. I've got auto key on there, so it just automatically does it for me. So yeah, as you can see, get a bit more into the animation there. Like I say, you can just keyframe, and you can even keyframe the number of points if you wanted to. Later on, you can keyframe, ramp them up or something, or ramp them down. Basically, everything's keyframeable, so it's kind of got an easy ease on it as well. So it just eases in and eases out. So that's pretty nice. Makes it look quite slick. Great. Next thing I did was I was just playing a bit more around with the mesh network and just added like another replicator. Another thing we could do, I'll show you again. I'll show you after. Is add another replicator. So then we've got the option to make a bit of a crazy tunnel. Change the offset. Just a bit more spaced apart. Forward or backwards. Again, all keyframeable. So you could really do some kind of like crazy animation with all this stuff. So let's obviously play it and nothing is really happening apart from the animation we've got. So I'm going to add in another node, which is here. It's the audio one, and it kind of looks like what we're trying to create here. So let's add the audio in, and it gives you a warning that there's no audio file. So what we're going to do is we're just going to plug in a WAV file basically. I found MP3 does work as well, but sometimes it can not, and I've just worked out that WAV just works every time. So if you do have an MP3 that you want to use, just run it through Media Encoder, just convert it to a WAV. It's really easy. You just select WAV and just does it really fast. I'll show you that in a sec if you need to. So I've got this Future by Vibes WAV. I'll just plug it in there, and you can see we've got something change here. So let's play it. So we've got straight away that little animation that I showed you before. So you can't hear the audio, so we have to plug it. If you want to hear the audio, you have to plug it into the timeline. And if you've never plugged audio into Maya, you just right click on the timeline and we go to audio. It's under like a new green feature here. Import audio, even though it's not new. Select the same track, and then when we play, you see it just connects to our audio. So just be wary, like when you try and change this as it's playing, it can have an effect on your computer, but mostly you can kind of adjust the parameters as it's playing, so you can see it live update. So at the minute, all the action's happening on the scale Y. You can see it's just scaling the Y-axis on the cube. If I ramp that up, you'll notice it's not doing the whole network here. I've just worked out by fiddling around with it basically, just experimenting. Upping the number of max bands fixes this. So the more of them you add on, better it is. So 200. So then it all kind of goes through. I guess the more like louder the music is, the more beats are going, the more it'll all kind of react. And remember, this isn't the only way you can do it. I always choose the radial option. It's kind of quite like it, but if we go back to the distribute node, you can do anything. Remember, it's spherical, so it goes a bit more like weird. Radial, sorry, radial is what I always use. Spherical. Just turn off the replicator. So you get all this kind of thing, more replicants. Sometimes a bit buggy, you have to like... Sorry, not that one. Distribution, isn't it? It's got this crazy cloud of them. And do you remember we had all this kind of influence stuff as well, where you can add the influencer thing, you can start mashing up with all that as well. Got the angle. Well, that looks pretty fun. So you can just pick points in the music as well, where if you just think it's time for a nice transition. And we can have multiple mesh networks, so you can kind of switch them in and out, and think about editing this in Premiere a bit as well, like mashing it all up. We've got animation speed as well. Let's have a look at not just scale Y. I think it's so satisfying just messing around with this. Get carried away. So yeah, what else can do? Obviously, we can add the color node on again, like I had before. So that color ID. Color. Oh, that's the wrong one. Sorry. Yeah, cool. Color. I noticed if you play around with the hue, you can have like almost pick yourself a color palette by picking a color here, and then just bring the hue up slightly. Last week we just shoved it right up and you get the full rainbow effect. But it's quite nice if you just have a minimalistic kind of color hue. Quite like this one, little variation here. Random it up a bit more, desaturate so it's a bit more pastel if you want, or like a monochrome type feel of it. And yeah, that's all quite fun. The grid's quite a good one actually. It's like 8. It's crazy Rubik's dancing cube. Let's just ramp it up a bit more. In fact, instead of scale, you can play with maybe the rotation of them all. Oh. That's not worked. What about, I did position it actually, so yeah, that would be good. So sometimes you have to really ramp the values up to get them to do anything, because they're working in units, remember, so this is how many units it's going to react to each audio wave. So you can see where it's going to peak, so like it's going to be a maximum of 50. And so like if you look at the waveforms, these are going to be the 50s at the top, these peaking ones. It's just like a rumbling. So yeah, you might need to add. Whoa. Thanks for watching, guys. This is kind of the basic intro on how to add audio into Mash. Give it a try and have fun with it. Cheers for watching.